Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of Tarot is Ridiculous, which I actually can't believe we're here for 10 episodes. Good, yay me. Um, some of you may know me. My name is Leeza Robertson, but you probably know my work. I am the author and creator of the Animal Tarot Totem, Cirque Du Tarot, Soul Cats Tarot, Mermaid Tarot, and a bunch of books that I'm not going to name. So if you do not know me, I bet you do know my work. And I know that you're going to know my guest today because she is famous, she is huge, she is a massive star in the tarot community and beyond. Welcome, Miss Theresa Reed.
Oh my God, Lisa, thank you for that introduction. And I'm so glad to be here with you today. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So, one of the things that I've loved about this podcast is being able to chat with people from all over the tarot spectrum. And you have been in this world for so long now that I'm not even going to ask you about your origin story. Instead, I'm really curious to know, when did this persona of the tarot lady take form? Because that's kind of how we all know you now.
Right. Well, it's actually quite boring. I read tarot for about 10 years before I went pro. And when I went pro, didn't really have a name for a business, just like my name. But what ended up happening is people would come and they say, "Oh my God, I had to see the tarot lady." So I would get that all the time. And so when it came time then to actually, after many years of just being called a tarot lady or the tarot lady, I'm like, well, the heck with it. That's just what I'm going to use because that's how people address me all the time, anyways. So that's really the origin story. It's not anything exciting. It wasn't an epiphany. It's just that's what people called me. It's a
But
good
I
thing they didn't
love
call me
that.
something else, right?
But I kind of love that. I love that it was a natural, organic, like next evolutionary step. It was like, well, if this is what I'm going to know, this is how I'm going to brand.
Exactly. It's like, look, if that's what you're all calling me, I guess that's what I'm going to go with then. Here we go.
I feel like spirit had a hand in that. Like, I feel like the higher powers had a hand in that because here we are in the age of, having to be branded even as authors, and yours just got set up organically.
Yes. I mean, a lot of things happen like that for my work, though. I mean, even my first tarot deck, I stumbled on it by accident in a bookstore. When I decided I was going to go pro, the only reason why I decided to do that is I had people constantly coming into the bar where I worked as a bartender, getting tarot readings. I brought them to the bar on a lark to have something to do. And people are like, "Oh my God, I'll pay you for a full reading." And I'm like, I don't know. And then I kind of thought, maybe I should do this. And my boss went and told people that I would fail because no one's going to pay for such a thing. And that's the one thing I do not like is some dude telling me that I'm going to fail. So of course, then what did I do, Lisa? I quit my job immediately, and I started doing the business, and all those people actually did come through and tell folks about it. So it all happened again organically by accident, kismet, who knows? But it happened.
I love that. One of the things that Teresa and I do have in common is that, like, I've noticed when someone tells us no, we have this type of personality. When someone tells us no, it's like, oh, that's our go sign. Thank you so much.
Yep. That is like the thing, if someone says, "Oh, you can't do that." Oh, 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 you want to bet? Now I'm going to show you. I'm going to go do that. I don't like being told that.
No, me either.
Mm-mm.
It really is my green light to, like, go with all the energy I can muster and just do it. So let's
Yes.
talk about the brand because your brand is huge now. And do you often sit back and go, wow, I can't believe it's like this thing? Or do you look at it and go, whew, there was a lot of hard work that went into there. And yes, that's exactly where it should be.
Well, first of all, I never think I'm big. I always think like I am not all that. And so when people do say stuff like that, I'm always like, "What?" Which sounds stupid, but it's like you don't you don't really think of it when you're living it. I guess maybe
Right.
I don't, and I also my kids keep me very humble because they don't think I'm all that. But on a more serious note, I worked really really hard. I worked so hard. Nothing, I had no benefactors. I had nothing in the beginning. I had times of extreme poverty. So everything that I've gained, nothing is, oh, sorry. When you hold your hands certain ways, it goes into these stupid.
That's
Oh
the
my
universe
God.
celebrating you. It was a
Ah!
celebration. It went, yes,
I got to keep
claim
my
it.
hands down. But, everything happened through grit and determination and hard work. I do not have a college degree. I had, again, my parents were poor. There was nothing, nothing. Everything I started was the hard way. I also like to say I did the hard way so you don't have to. That's what I like to tell folks. But it really was a tremendous amount of work and also dedication. And so when I look around at what I've been able to create, I'm pretty blown away sometimes. Like, oh my God, I remember when. I remember how hard it was. I remember also that much of my career began before the internet age. And there was no money for marketing. There was no way to market. Everything was
Right.
word of mouth. If someone had to know about you. People do not understand how challenging it was to build a business in those conditions when you had absolutely no money to put behind it. So I'm very proud of what I've done because I know how hard it was.
Yeah, I was actually talking to someone the other day where I was trying to explain like what we did before social media. And
Right?
like, no concept, no idea.
They
I'm like,
can't
no,
understand.
back then it was like really hard. Like you had to literally show up to places and be places and try
Yep.
and find money for hotel rooms and conferences, and like you physically had to be in a space in order to make these contacts. And they would
Yes.
like, I don't understand what that means.
Even to learn tarot and astrology, because I'm fluent in both, back in the day, it was rough. First of all, there weren't the amount of books or decks available that there are now.
Right.
And if you grew up in a rural area like I did, you were TSOL. You had to really want it because it required hunting and pecking to find out the information. I didn't have teachers, mentors. I didn't have any of that good fortune. So, folks, nowadays you got it better, y'all. You really do.
Exactly. You know what? I think that's a great segue to our card because
Oh,
our card has a little bit of this in it. And I've got to say that before we went live today, Teresa was telling me how much she hates this card. I actually quite like this card. It's a card I love to see in a reading, but I feel like it has elements of what we were just talking about here. So go ahead and introduce our card, Teresa.
now just so you all know, I didn't pick this card. This is the last damn card the tarot lady ever would have picked. Because people who know me know one thing. I do not like the Five of Swords. So I think the cards are all neutral to some degree, but this card, Leeza, I got an attitude with the Five of Swords. I have a big attitude. I'm
That's fine.
admitting it.
Tell us your attitude. Tell us your attitude.
I mean, if, first of all, one of the traditional meanings behind this card is a victory through deceit. And the one thing I cannot stand is being deceived. I mean, I'll
Right.
put up with a whole lot of stuff, but if you're going to be dishonest, now we have a massive problem. So just knowing that one meaning when I first learned this card, I was like, oh my God, please don't let me pull this card because I have an attitude about that. I have a real personal issue with that. So, that's the main reason. But also, even when you look at the card, it's ugly. There's storm clouds, there's people crying. And here's this dude with a smirk walking away with all the spoils that he stole or whatever the hell he did. And the one thing I hate is that smirk. And what I find really interesting about the Rider Waite Smith deck is most of the cards, their expressions are neutral. So, like, you look at the Queen of Wands, she's very neutral. You can like kind of like feel whatever you feel there. But this card, there's no denying it. This dude is smirking, and he has what the Germans call a punchable face. So you can see how riled up I'm getting. And so, of course, when you say you like this card, I'm like, what secret do you know about this card, Leeza, that I need to know? Make me like this card. Convince me. Sell it on me.
All right, so I picked the one from the Animal Totem Tarot today, which has our little echidna on it. For those people who aren't Australian, go and look up echidnas. They are adorable. Here's why I like this card. I like this card for two reasons. One, I like it for it's for the very definition that you said, that there is a victory through deceit, because I like to know when I am being lied to. Like, I like transparency. So if I see this card in a reading, it's letting me know that someone in my world is probably not being as honest as they should be, or it lets me know that my intuition is on the right track if I have a kind of off feeling. And I was in a situation a couple of years ago where this card kept coming up, and I was like, I know this person is not telling me what they should be telling me. So like that's why I like it. I like it as a precursor or as an affirmation to my intuition. But I also feel there's another part of this card too that I have seen show up in my healing work for people who have guilt around success. So
Mm.
I tend to also associate this card as, yes, not everyone is going to be happy with your success. And it is going to piss some people off. It's going to make some people mad. There could be some aggression towards it, but that doesn't mean you still don't get to honor and claim your success.
Wow. I love that interpretation because I've experienced that. Maybe that's why I also hate this card. But I've experienced that, where I've had people, loved ones, friends, or peers, rather than say, hey, you're doing a great job, they get really weird about it. And, have even been doing things, yet you find out later, you're like, wow, that's really awful. What the hell? Why aren't you happy for me? And, Leeza, I'm very psychic and I'm very street smart. However, I'm also incredibly sensitive. And I'd like to believe that everybody has good intentions and that people are honest and caring and want what's best for everyone. So I think there's also the part of me that feels really shattered when I discover that they're not who I thought they were, that they're really not nice. So you can see again, there's a lot of reasons why I get really riled up about that card, but that's a great interpretation. Never heard that one
Yeah.
before.
I've seen it come up with clients again and again and again in healing situations where they've either denied themselves a promotion, denied themselves a holiday, denied themselves living somewhere they really want to live because there is this real guilt and shame around either having success or having something that someone else didn't have, like whether it's their family, their siblings, their social group. And I think like the Five of Swords too can also talk about the entrepreneurial experience, because as we get further and further into this, we do leave people behind. And some of those people aren't always gracious or happy about our growth. And so I also see, and you could say that the deceit's in there too, because the deceit isn't on the winner side in that respect. It's on the people who are getting narky about it and walking away. So you could definitely have that deceit in there. But yeah, when this has come up in healing for me, it's really shown me a different way to look at how these five swords play out and how there's always this conflict, this point of conflict where there's a perceived winner and a perceived loser.
Yes. I mean, that makes sense for that card. I think it's an awesome interpretation, and I'll keep that in mind in the future. I know one of the things, too, now that I'm looking at it from that perspective, one of the things that I've done over the years is I downplay my success. Like, I don't talk about it. Like, if I never tell people how well I actually am doing because I don't want to have a target on my back. Subconsciously, I know that that's what happens. So that's also, a form of not being completely on the up and up. Why? Because you have
Right.
a fear.
Right. And if we were to put it in context today with the internet, which who knows, 20 years from now, maybe social media as we know it won't exist either. We'll be onto something else.
It won't.
We could talk about this too as all of those shitty, horrible, negative comments you get on social media. Right? This card can represent internet trolls who are just there to try and create misery and trying to create shame and guilt based on you just trying to live your life.
Yes, absolutely. And what a lot of those people do, if you are having a good time, if you're succeeding, they feel threatened by that. So they've got to bring you back down to their level or below their level. And so how do they do that? By saying those mean things. I got to tell you something. here's again me sounding like a Pollyanna, but I'm always shocked at who would ever take the time to do that. I mean, if I see something on the web, maybe I think I don't agree with this opinion. Most of the time, I will never say anything because they don't need to hear my windy criticism of whatever. And so I'm always stunned when I see people just being so cruel and critical, and I don't understand the point. I don't understand if that feels good. That wouldn't feel good to me to like say something mean on someone's Facebook post. That would feel awful. I feel like I'd probably have guilt about it later. I don't know. I don't like that.
Right. And if we go back to your thing of like the guy who feels victorious has the smirk, then he could be the internet troll, while the person who is walking away is the person who was just trying to share a piece of their sunshine or a piece of their success and now just feels absolutely miserable about it.
Yes. And I've had that happen to me where I put something out there and for some reason somebody gets an attitude and they've got to say something really crappy. And it's like, wow, who crapped in your cornflakes? Why are you like trying to wreck
I
my
know.
vibe here? I'm having a good time, man. Leave me alone.
But we don't want to leave this on a negative note, because I know this card sometimes could be a bit of a downer. I kind of want people to really go away from this card and see it as a moment for clarity, affirmation, and healing. And that is, if this card comes up and it rubs you the wrong way, there is something in you that is still suffering some sort of pain around being able to have a victory or success or feel like you have a right to shine. So if this comes up, sink into your heart a little bit here and give yourself a little self-love.
I love that. And I would also add to that, if you are getting funny feelings about people, you don't have to be nice because you don't want to cause drama. Trust your gut. Get the hell out of the way. You don't need to allow that in your orbit. That's what delete, mute, and block are for. So use them wisely, and don't feel guilty about it. If you're getting that funny feeling, you're probably right.
Exactly. All right, that's it. That's our show. Now, beautiful Miss Theresa Reed, the big, massive, huge star of tarot, how do people find out about you? Where do they connect with you? And what have you got going on? Because you've got a book out.
Yeah, I have a brand new book out. Let me just quickly show folks. It's called The Cards You're Dealt: How to Deal When Life Gets Real. It's a tarot guidebook for dealing with grief and loss and caregiving and all those really hard things in life that we will have to, at some point in our lives, deal with. And a lot of tarot readers, we have clients who are dealing with these things. So the book is also for you to guide you on how to give readings for folks who are going through the really rough stuff, because tarot readings are not always about just the handsome stranger. People can connect with me on thetarotlady.com. That's my main hub. I'm all over social media. I spend the most time on Threads, which I love, and also on Instagram, which I kind of like, but Threads is a lot more fun for me. So you can find me there. And I teach, and I have a Patreon account. So check that out if you want to study with me. So lots and lots going on.
And you can find the link to Theresa's website in the show notes. Okay, that is our show for this week. And once again, it has gone so fast. Thank you so much, dear, for being with us today. I just love getting a chance to sit down and chat with you. It's always a joy.
It was a delight. Thank you, Leeza.
All right, everyone, that is our show for this week. Remember, if you want to go further with this card and you want to get the newsletter that goes with this podcast, that is a paid subscription over on Substack. Again, the link to that is in the show notes. I will be here next week with our next guest. Bye from me. See you next week.